On the start line, everyone looks like a winner. But in every marathon, one truth remains. Not everyone crosses the finish line. The same thing happens in our industry. Announcing a partnership does not create long-term growth. The real work begins after the gun goes off.
All right, welcome to this episode of Spotlight. I'm here with Andrew, the CCO of Soft2Bet. Soft2Bet is also our headline partner as we are live at Next Summit New York. So welcome, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. And Andrew, I know that during your headline session, keynote at the main stage, you were talking about the long run partnerships and making them consistent and long term. So could you tell me a little bit more about what that session was about and what were the key takeaways?
No, absolutely. I think the fundamental message that I was trying to relay was in B2B today, it's not just about rushing out signing deals. It's actually about making sure that those partners are successful over the long run, hence the title. And I think what I focused on yesterday was focusing on not just the technology itself and the going out and choosing a platform and getting your license. It's actually the operational readiness that goes around that, and actually those operators that have best-in-class execution across payments, marketing, retention, product are actually those operators who are going to succeed longer term. And I think utilizing the experience that Soft2Bet has gained over many regulated markets, that kind of B2C mindset, I suppose, really sets us apart from perhaps just other technology partners, right? So we actually have expertise to bring to the table to help them on that journey of operational excellence, ultimately to trying to drive their business forward. Because, you know,
When we talk about, or when you mention operational readiness, for Soft2Bet, what does that mean?
So Soft2Bet has the full managed services solution. So we obviously have a technology layer, all proprietary technology built by our teams, operating in some very complex regulated markets today across Europe, North America, and Latin America. And in addition to that, we layer on top of that a number of operational services. So whether it's customer support, fraud and risk, right the way through to retention, so VIP management, affiliate management, CRM, automation, and actually we can work with an operator on a kind of a hybrid model and actually take services from them actually and utilize our vast experience that we've over the last 9 years that we've excelled in markets that we're in. So it's not just about technology only, it's about taking best-in-class technology platform as a default, and then actually layering on top of that B2C expertise, essentially.
Nice one. And I think, you know, when we talk about partnerships and relationships nowadays, a lot can be done with AI to speed up processes and that operational readiness that you've mentioned. So how important are those human relationships for a partnership to be successful?
Well, listen, I mean, I think with all of our partners, and we have a very broad term of partner actually at Soft2Bet, whether it's a supplier, customer, JV partner, whatever that relationship is, they're a partner to our business. You know, we cannot succeed without all of our partners, right? And then Next.io is a good example of another partner, right? We're here sponsoring again for the second year running as a headline sponsor, and that partnership is proving very fruitful, I believe, for both parties. We've got very, very similar aspirations about growth. We're both focusing on North America. And also, I think we both believe in the kind of the holistic view of the whole ecosystem of the industry. So not turning up to exhibitions and just seeing product verticals, but actually turning up and seeing finance and investment and banking and legal and consultancy services, and actually seeing all those periphery parts and components of the industry that perhaps are not front and center at many, many exhibitions. So it's a really good opportunity. And that's a good example of how we treat partnerships, right? We work very closely, understand their goals, our goals, and more importantly, align them together, right? And I think the best partners, the best partnerships, whether it's us and Next.io, or whether it's Soft2Bet and one of our B2B partners, are when we work very closely in partnership very, very clear, aligned vision for the future, and focus on operational excellence.
How do you measure that success of a partnership?
We measure everything. I mean, we go back to, I talked heavily yesterday about acquisition and retention. Okay, so there's been a real focus in this industry the last decade of focusing on acquisition at all costs almost. And you can see the result. CPAs are going through the roof. Companies are struggling to raise capital because of the increasing costs of marketing. But actually, the reality is what operators need to start doing is actually shifting their focus to retention, because more often than not, and I said this yesterday, that operators are overspending on acquisition, but actually significantly underinvesting in retention. But actually, when you look at retention, it's not just about marketing, it's actually the whole product flow, every part of that user journey. You mentioned AI or the human touch. If you're trying to make a deposit and it's not working, and you're getting an interaction, and that interaction, whether it's AI, whether it's a bot, whether it's a human, if that interaction is not a positive experience, retention rates are going to suffer. So actually, retention goes right the way through the product. So I think that's where our focus on the product level, whether it's the foundation technology, the platform, the player account management platform, whether it's the payments engine, whether it's the content integrations, the gamification layers at the top, whatever part of that ecosystem, we've got to make sure that it's focused on the player and giving them a positive experience all the way through.
I think that's a really good piece of advice around retention. What would you say if retention is the one big piece of advice? What would be the second piece of advice that you would give to operators? Is there anything that they're overlooking that you would let them know about and tell them, focus on this instead?
Yeah, I think payments, absolutely. We really strongly believe that if you get payments wrong, it's really like I called it yesterday. It's the shoes that runners wear in a marathon was the analogy that I used yesterday, and it's that important because if players, and this I suppose goes back to localization of your product. So where we're live in Canada with our 2Bet brand, or where we're live in Mexico with our CampoBet brand, very different payment methods because player behavior is very different in those markets. Okay, so I think those operators that take a one strategy in one market and just kind of copy and paste it across, that's the big mistake, right? It's actually taking time to understand player preferences, player behavior, and what are the right payment methods for those markets. And of course, the other side of payments, actually understanding the true costs, the hidden charges, making sure you've got automated cascading flows to, where there's failed deposits, it automatically sends through to another alternative payment methods. All these kind of things are kind of industry best practice that needs a lot of operational focus by the operator. So I think payments is definitely that kind of second area where operators can really set themselves apart from the competition.
And finally, if an operator is thinking about a partnership with Soft2Bet, what are the key questions that you feel they should be asking you when they consider a partnership with you for the long term?
Look, I think too many people look at, I talked about this yesterday, celebrating RFPs, celebrating deals. Like when you're looking at technology, don't have a feature list and say, has it got this, has it got that, and do has this company got experience of operating an online casino or a sportsbook? Do they understand the end-to-end value chain? And actually, has their product been built with that in mind? So rather than technology people building a piece of software and then selling it to businesses that want to operate an online casino, actually with Soft2Bet, you've got a product built to succeed in markets that we're already succeeding today. So it's proven, has a proven track record. Yeah. And I think that's really important. I think I keep going back to this B2C mindset, and that's really important for us. We set ourselves apart by demonstrating our understanding of what they need to focus on to be successful. Because ultimately we have a partnership and a commercial model that incentivizes both partners' growth and success. So we want partnerships that are profitable and sustainable over the long run. Okay, and that can only be achieved by having a product that can deliver that growth.
Yeah. You've mentioned B2C mindset a couple of times, or the familiarity with B2C. Is there anything that you would care to elaborate on in terms of what that means?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, I think it's like even understanding, we understand the marketing mix. We understand the difference in CPA rates between performance marketing versus, affiliate marketing, programmatic, and all the other different things. And we understand ARPUs and lifetime value metrics in many, many different markets. Because we have all of this data, when an operator is running, we're able to look at that operator and say, hey, we think your acquisition costs are too high, or hey, your retention rate is not as strong as it should be. Let's look at that and understand why it's fallen down. Try and identify where there's an opportunity to optimize the product, if it's the product, or is it the CRM campaigns. Using AI models is a great example of where we can start to automate those CRM flows now and actually react in real time to player behavior, which is much more interesting. But getting that balance right between not bombarding people, but actually trying to keep that engagement level. And actually looking at a player life cycle right the way from acquisition all the way through that retention journey, all the way to churn at the end, because they're ultimately going to churn over time. But actually during that whole life cycle, making sure that we are optimizing engagement, which ultimately drives long-term value.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for taking the time. From the personal perspective of me, we're very grateful and proud of this partnership that we have between Next and Soft2Bet, and so it may continue as a long-term partnership that we've been talking about today. And just want to say thank you for being with us today and sharing some of your insights with us.
No, thank you. It was a great opportunity to do the keynote yesterday. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and another successful conference.
Thank you so much for your time, Andrew.
Thank you.